Ian Toomey, sir, it is great to be back in your presence once again. How are you doing?
Very good, thanks, Tony. How are you keeping?
Great to see you. Never mind Masters of Light, I'm looking at these lights coming down. Master of Light.
Thank you.
Great album, by the way. Superb listen, really enjoyed that. Top work.
Yeah, there was an incredible 8 days with Chris Tsangarides, 2015, which would get it to the 2016 release. It was tinged with a little bit of tragedy though, because having done all that great work, got the album out to some fantastic reviews, sadly it wasn't much longer after that when we lost Chris.
It shook the rock world, Ian. It really did. You know, when I picked it up on social media, very upset about it. Fantastic producer. Obviously the work that he's done with you has been fantastic.
Yeah, it was an incredible experience, and we worked with Chris for a number of years. You know, we worked with the Rapture, and then we went on to do Ascension and then Masters of Light. We had been planning a third album, and sadly Chris was taken from us in the January, and really after having lived that music world for so long, what do you do next? If it's in your blood, it's in your soul. We kind of drifted. We didn't know what we were going to do.
But in the meantime, and I'll say, let's look for a third album, because I'll pester you for a third album. But what I will say, we've moved on. Videos.
Yes, the videos came about by sheer act of the universe. And it was the first time I'd really encountered that as an experience. And Masters of Light was the cover. It told about our own journey. And indeed, it was probably mirrored by a lot of people as you pass through life. But that lunchtime, back in the December, came away from a job I'd finished around about 1 o'clock, and I'd seen the sign for Cavalier Studios at the traffic lights before I turned right to go at this small medium enterprise. So I was going to go home, and this voice kept nagging me on my shoulder, said, go and see these guys, go and see these guys. So okay, fine, locked the car up, walked across the road, walked through the door, and literally as I was passing through the door, Lol Cooper was coming out of the studio. These
voices on your shoulder, they've worked a treat. They have really worked a treat. The videos are good. And I've got to say, listen, Sounds of Silence, that is better than the original, for sure.
Wow, thank you. And you're not on your own to hold that opinion. We got the Sound of Silence video after the initial video made with Ben and Lol, which was the priest off the Masters of Light album, which was all green screen, and indeed was the last video to be shot in that location before the guys moved the studio. The output and the response to the video was phenomenal, and I was certainly not expecting anything of such a massive standard. So yeah, we do want to do another video, and what should we do? Sound of Silence had come about because our drummer Steve Turton had suggested it. We had the music box, we'd done the recording with Chris back in 2010 for the Rapture album, and although Disturbed had brought out a much slower version with a good video, it raised its head again, and as much as I tried to walk away and escape that noise in my head, it was, no, it needs to be this. And so I handed over to Lol and to Ben and said, what do you think? What can we do?
I've got to say, they've done an absolute fantastic job. You're looking at the video, you're looking at the emotions of Steve on drums, absolutely superb. You're looking at a true superstar with Millsy on the vocals,
yep.
And of course yourself. And I'm looking, Jimi Hendrix t-shirt, well, hang about, Ian Toomey. You know, what more do you want for a video?
Jimmy has followed me my whole life. From the first time I picked up a guitar, I saw him on television as a kid, and I thought, I want to do that. That looks fantastic. What great fun. So with Sound of Silence, you walked in that room and the energy was phenomenal, absolutely incredible. Great big tall windows, and fortunately we had Andy Kennett to do the lighting, so although it was a very bright sunny day, Andy managed it incredibly well. And we went into that recording about 20 past, 10:30 on the morning. We walked out of there about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. Energy levels never changed the whole time. I've never experienced anything like it, and it could have only been the light pouring through those windows, keeping all of us going at that same level. Because if your energy levels dropped, you would see it on the camera doesn't lie, but it never changed, Tony, and for me, what an experience.
But I tell you what, listen, you've got the good guys behind you there directing and producing, and of course if your energy levels haven't dropped 12 hours later, life is good. And certainly the production and how it looked is testament to well in excess of 1 million hits. I mean, that's telling you something.
It was a very rewarding experience, not just because of the videos came out so well, but also that people were picking up on what we were actually doing with that message, to capture that atmosphere in that room on that day, and then have it in perpetuity, it's just an incredible experience. And to be fair, I don't think I'm being over-exaggerative. I think that it's changed everybody's life, because it was like something which you will never live again. And LOL always reminds me that day, the way it worked with the light and with the way everybody worked together, you'll never have that opportunity again, because that is set there for a reason with the universe. So on the journey with the Master of Light, it was a case of, we have the priest, we have the sound of silence, then what do we do next?
Well, I've got to say, just on the sound of silence, the sunglasses. There's a story behind the sunglasses.
There is, and some people may know this. Anybody who follows the light will, I'm sure, know this. There's a movie called They Live, which has the director John Carpenter. I'm a big fan of John Carpenter's work because he's slightly away from the normal. He's not so much a rebel, but he likes to do things, take a different perspective rather than just churn the handle. And in the film They Live, the guys are chased and harried because they've got these boxes of sunglasses they've been making and handing out to people, and the authorities come after them, steal sunglasses, but one pair is left, and this guy who's homeless and trying to work with construction, he's walking down the street of the city after they've been raided, and then, oh, he remembers he's got the sunglasses, he puts the sunglasses on, and those signs aren't saying Pepsi Cola or Schweppes or highlighting the next movie. You can already see that obey, consume, and there's just all these subliminal instructions which are occurring. He goes into a bank, and some of the people there are humans, yeah, but some of them are certainly not human. And it just tells the story, a bit like The Matrix, that there's a duality. We have this perspective, and it's a perspective which has been imbued into us since we were small children. In actual fact, there's something quite different going on. And I think, especially over the last couple of years, people are realising that the mainstream message which is coming out of this, that's not of the light. That's to keep you in a particular position that some other people have decided that's where you're going to be. And there's so much more happening. You just have to open your mind and your heart and let that light in.
And what a cool story that is behind the video. To the naked eye, all you're seeing is Ian Toomey and Sound of Silence, but that little story just underpins everything. Really, really cool. I mean, your videos have always had a nice little feel to them. Next video, what was up?
The next one was the Devil's Chord.
Yeah.
And the Devil's Chord, we went to Whitby. The location chose itself. It just came into mind. Spoke to Lol and Ben. And yes, that's great. I think Ben had been there previously. And we turned up on the day, and we were parked by the Priory, which of course is a key part of the Dracula story. What a great thing to symbolise the darkness. And we thought, okay, what should we do? We were checking out locations for the actual shoot, which was supposed to be programmed for the next morning. Ben, I think it was, said, oh, let's have a look on the head, and let's have a look along here and see what the coastline looks like. And in an instant, right, we need to get down there with the two great crashing rocks and the piece of ground between them. So we jumped in the car, flew around the corner into his caravan park. I don't think the doors had closed on the car, and we were dashing down the side of the cliff with carrying the camera equipment, the guitar and the CD player. And that was it. Off we went and shot it all in the moment. So it was a real taste of and a real memory for me, because it was almost like working with Chris again, where so much of what we did was in the moment. One thing that these guys have, which I love so much, is adaptability. We would never sit down and plan meticulously, because that way you're locking yourself into a frame of mind, which surely, to goodness, you need to be open to changes around you. You need to be flexible. Life is all about change. So to go with a complete manufactured program done in a room at the studio or done in a coffee house, it can't possibly replicate what you're going to do. So that very flexibility and adaptability got us a phenomenal video. Walking up the steps from the side of the beach, reflective gaze on the main strip where the old side of Whitby is, and walking down there with electricity crackling around behind me as I went. The power in that video was just incredible. And of course, Devil's Chord being Chris's baby, I worked with the lyrics, etc. It was great to have that with the work with Chris and bring it to life in such a fantastic way. We went on to the Above the Noise video. Now, remembering that the last time the guys had all been together, it was that fantastic high of Sound of Silence. So when we came to do Above the Noise, the only concern any of us had was, can we capture that energy in the moment? Because with the green screen, you're doing individual shots. So it's me doing what I do, Lol doing what he does, Steve and Dave. And the funny aspect to it is when you're in the recording studio, the drummer's always first. You capture the drum tracks, and then you build a song around it and off you go. But it's important to secure those first of all. Steve had to sit through it all, last man up after seeing great performances from everybody, especially Dave, Dave in his full frontman kick-off. But Steve, what performance he put in. He was shaking, and there was so much adrenaline and energy pumping through this guy. He was shaking by the time we got towards the end of it. And when you look at the video, where we end up on a spaceship, Steve is really capturing that moment. And Lol and I are the wingmen on this one. You got Dave in the front, Steve at the back, and between those two, we're boundaring that energy. And it's really, really works.
Looking at Steve's sticks, superb. At times I'm thinking, how many arms has he got going at once, really cool. Yourself, proper axeman, and of course Millsy on vocals. Everything coming together, it just shows there's no weak links at all with Ian Toomey and the band.
No, there are no weak links in this band. It took us a while to get there, but of course it's all down to availability. Dave was always very busy with his own projects, because Dave's the leader, he knows what he wants out of his music. Did a fantastic debut album, and so to actually bring somebody with his talent and somebody with his own passions to come and work with you, I still sometimes have to pinch myself, because the guy's got so much to give anyway, but now he's bringing all that focus onto your project. I mean, really, really humbling to be part of that, and to work with somebody like Dave, because you could pick Dave up, stick him in the stadium tomorrow, yeah, what songs we're doing, guys? All right, yeah, fine, I'll learn those overnight, and give a performance that'd rate with Freddie Mercury or anybody else of that ilk.
But of course, the album, the Rapture, the video, tell us about that.
The Rapture was an incredible album. I wrote that in very, very quick time. And in fact, when I think back to it, it was almost like every time I went upstairs to practice, something dropped out the ether and I was becoming a song. The Rapture, I believe we're now in the tribulation and heading into the Rapture. Although the Rapture itself was recorded 10, 11 years ago, I think now there are so many signs, with all the floods, all the wildfires, everything around us is telling us that, this is going to stop. The way we're living is going to stop. The world's going to change. There will be a price. And the Rapture itself, the track, was very, very dark. It's very doom-laden. But the words within it that David did, incredible. It really captures the feel for it. So we needed to do another video after Above the Noise. And as usual, just wait for that moment to come. And I spoke to Lol. I said, we've got plenty of footage. Can we look at doing the Rapture? We were really getting the understanding of what this means, this journey that we're all on now, about this energy, about this light, and the power that Chris managed to capture in that song. And that power was there for a reason. I always thought it really had a very strong message. But if you listen to the actual sonic treatment within there, there's no frequency band that you would normally hear with a rock band that has been neglected. It's really powerful. So, okay, let's try that. Now on the Rapture, on this video, I had absolutely nothing to do with it. I asked the guys what they thought. Yeah, we've got one or two ideas and we'll do this and do that. Yeah, that's fine. And the first time I saw the Rapture, I would say it was finished. I came down to the studio, we looked at the Rapture. I was completely blown away. And funnily, you mentioned Hendrix earlier. There's a portion with the guitar solo in the middle where they've actually used something not dissimilar, where Hendrix is appearing in different places, and there's a real sort of mystical, spiritual treatment to it. Because he used to see in colour. A lot of people don't know that's actually a medical condition. And when Hendrix used to do interviews like with Dick Cavett's show, yeah, well, I can see the sky, saw this turquoise purple, and it's all talking to me, man. So, oh, he's on LSD. But in actual fact, he used to see music in colour.
Well, again, you've got the team together, you've got Lol and Ben coming in, and it sounds absolutely great. The video's cool. Now then, what I will say, the Rapture, bringing it out today, so prevalent in 2021.
I know.
So prevalent.
10 years ago. So why would you do it? Why was it so easy? And I believe that we're all on our own journeys now. Sometimes those journeys are disparate, but if I cast my mind back to 81, 82, We were playing Battle of the Bands at Manchester Apollo on that evening. There's a group called 10% Proof. And guess what? Guess who was going to do the album if that had occurred? Lol, because Lol had his studio there. And I suspect that Lol and I were within matters of feet of each other during that evening and earlier in the evening when we were getting the gear on. So the time passes. Went down to Granada once or twice to try out for different shows back in the day. And again, Lol was doing work with various television companies. So this path, which has been parallel, has in recent times completely converged. And what a team it's made. You know, it's not just the guys you see here today, with Andy here as well. There's Brady, who played the businessman in The Priest. There's Tim, who plays bass with Lol's band, but Tim also brings in other influences. And there's a whole bunch of people here.
Another little swerve ball just to finish off. Your hopes for the future, Ian?
We already have a video in line to do called Old School. So this is a little bit of a journey back to the Rapture.
Great track.
But Old School is really important now. We're in a world, a dark world, where so much is happening in so many different ways so quickly. It's not natural. It's not the way life's meant to be on this planet. And we have the light, which is gaining ground and pushing through wherever. But it's a bit like when you have the eclipse and it comes right across the earth. It starts in New Zealand, and then the world all moves into darkness and it all goes to light again. And it's like the light is chasing the darkness, but at the moment the darkness is like moving at such a pace. It's a real neck and neck battle, and who knows which way it might go. I actually think it's going to be the light, because it can only go that one way, because the world was not supposed to be in such a dark place. The way they play with ordinary people's lives, the way a guy can only just go to work, finds out that in November the place is going to close. Oh, and by the way, change your terms and conditions. It's not £15 an hour, it's £12 an hour. That can't be right. The world is a very rich place, and so the light will bring that to the fore, and more people are waking up. They call it the Great Awakening, and I sincerely believe that's the case. You can go into a supermarket. I overhear people of the older generation, and they're talking about these things which are on YouTube, things which are not part of mainstream media. So the light is there. The biggest problem that we have is spreading that message to as many people as possible. Nothing to be scared of. You just have to be honest with yourself, say, no, it's not supposed to be this way. I'm not going to accept it. So in my own small way, I'm going to try and bring some change.
I mean, just having a chat today, for the fans that will be watching the interview and that, what you've said about the light and the dark, the thought process that goes into your game as a big game musician, it's really, really good to listen to. But Ian, I know you're a busy man, as ever. It's always a privilege to speak to you. Whatever you do, I know it's going to be top draw. And whatever you do, let me know first, won't you, so I can listen or I can view it first. Thank you very much, sir, for being here today.
And thank you for your time, Tony. It's
Fantastic.
appreciated.
Thank you.